once again for the World Diabetes Day Health Forum on Saturday, November the 16th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. here on the campus of Mount Hermon Church. Our featured guest speaker will be none other than former NFL player and two-time Super Bowl champion Otis Anderson, hailing from the University of Miami. The day will include diabetes and nutrition education, a cooking demonstration, hot meals will be served, blood sugar and blood pressure screenings, chance drawings, and a feature we are excited about this year, a children's fun zone where they will receive free vision checks and oral screenings as well as diabetic education. It's never too late to start them young. So make plans to join us for the World Diabetes Day Health Forum at Mount Hermon Church, November 16th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tell your family and your friends and anyone who is diabetic or have a diabetic loved one. This education forum is interactive and it is for you. We look to see you there. Hi, family. I want to welcome you all to this episode of Relevant Conversations with Dr. Glover. And as you have just heard with that pre-announcement to the start of our program tonight, we've got a big weekend coming up this Saturday with the World Diabetes Day Forum here on the campus of Mount Hermon Church. We're using this episode of Relevant Conversations to talk about diabetes, to talk about the forum, and to give you reason and cause to come out and join us. We've got some very special guests with us today. We have Mr. Roe Hudson, who is a registered dietitian, amongst other things, with Lee Health, and also Sherry Lugwood, an RN and diabetic inpatient specialist with Lee Health, amongst other things. So I want to pause for a moment and give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to you, to talk about their role in their work with Lee, and also to talk about their passion for diabetes health care. And we're going to begin with Sherry.
Oh, thank you so much. So my name is Sherry Ludwig. I've been a registered nurse with Lee Health at Lee Health, which was Lee Memorial Hospital when I first started back in 1987 on the diabetes unit. And I had a passion for diabetes because my whole family had diabetes, and I really didn't know that much about it. So I wanted to learn more about it, and I've been working in that field since 1987, educating patients about how important it is to take care of their diabetes. I had an uncle that was on dialysis, and that was very difficult to watch him go through that dialysis. He didn't manage his diabetes very well. He liked to eat, and so he really was on insulin, and he ended up getting a lot of the complications from diabetes. He couldn't see very well, and my grandmother was also on insulin, and she always had low blood sugar, so that was really scary to watch her try to manage that. And so I had a passion for diabetes. I wanted to educate people about it. I wanted to learn about it myself. And that's been my journey, is to help people who have diabetes to control it better and prevent those complications that can occur from diabetes.
Thank you, Sherry. So this isn't just a professional or academic enterprise for you. It's very personal as well.
Very personal.
Thank you so much. Ro, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us today. So my name's Roe Hudson. I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist. I'm the director of Lee Health Solutions, which is our department of Lee Health that works with patients with chronic diseases, either helping them manage it or as well as helping them prevent chronic disease. And specifically, as we're talking about diabetes, I too have had several family members that have had diabetes with varying degrees of success. And I've been very fortunate to be able to be a resource for them to try to help them. Equally as important is just working with patients. I don't work with patients as much anymore directly, but when I did, I always was so happy to see the fruits of your labor, being able to empower an individual to know that they have a significant role to play in their health, seeing them implement some suggestions that you've given them, and then they come back and their blood sugars are so much better. There's not much more that's more rewarding than that. So to be able to participate in this event we have coming up, we're wanting to continue to spread our reach and continue to do those wonderful things.
And thank you for sharing the positive outcome that when we do the right things, we can expect good end results as we manage and deal with diabetes. I neglected to say to our audience that as we go through and have this discussion, we want to encourage you to send your questions and put your questions in the comment sections. And towards the end of this program, we will take an opportunity and answer your questions as well. I also want to encourage you, if you know someone who's living with diabetes or taking care of someone who's living with diabetes, send them a message and have them get on this live, because they're going to be empowered with some very, very valuable information tonight. My why is personal as well. I was diagnosed with diabetes at age 38. And it didn't necessarily run in my immediate family, so I wasn't aware of anyone dealing with diabetes per se. But believe it or not, at that time, I was working 70, almost 80 hours a week. I was 45 pounds heavier than I am now. I was eating on the run, fast food, just not exercising, not taking care of myself, and started showing some of the symptoms of diabetes, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And when I got diagnosed, I was shocked. Like, how did I get diabetes? And part of it was I wasn't taking very good care of myself. So a lot of bad behavior taking place. And, of course, since that time, it's become a passion as I have learned and become educated about it, and have gotten involved in trying to educate other people as well, because you can prevent a lot of the bad things that happen if you don't manage your diabetes. So I want to thank our guests for sharing their why. So let's get to it. Let's begin our conversation about diabetes. I just want to say that this upcoming diabetes forum that's coming up this weekend is really connected to a long history of Mount Hermon Church and Lee Health working to provide diabetes education. We started or participated in a group that started the diabetes forum almost 20 years ago, and did it a couple years with multiple partners, and that dissolved. But there were so many people dealing with it in our communities that we decided as a congregation that we would take it on and host an annual diabetes education forum. And every year, annually, Lee Health partnered with us. We changed our direction a little bit a couple of years ago. It was always connected to our community fund day, but we pulled it out and went a different direction with the fund day, which is working out very well. But we didn't know what we were going to do about the diabetes education. And I want to segue to Sherry, because here enters Lee Health again. And unbeknownst to them, really was an answer to prayers we were praying. So God answers prayer, even concerning healthcare. So please share with us what was going on with Lee and how we reconnected to host this forum.
Well, the month of November is Diabetes Awareness Month. So not only do we want to educate those people who are having diabetes, maybe having some struggles, maybe don't have the resources that they need to manage their diabetes, as well as many people that don't know they have diabetes. We want to reach out to them too, and so they know the symptoms to look for, to know that their blood sugar's high, and know that there is help, and that there are resources, and you don't want to wait. You want to get help. So we also, as we'll talk about, introduce the children's part of it. I mean, we're seeing a lot of children with diabetes. It's gone way up. So it wouldn't be nice to talk about that today.
Absolutely,
too.
that's on the agenda.
And we'll talk about what to look for in your kids, and that know that you can prevent it not only in yourself but in your children, and that it's important to control your diabetes and not wait until tomorrow. So
what? And you were around the table that first meeting when we got a call, say, hey, we'd like to sit and discuss with you guys about diabetes, World Diabetes Day, and the possibility of hosting the forum. I just wanted to hear a little bit about how that conversation took root in Lee to reach out to us to partner with this.
Well, I think, we work with the marketing and with community outreach, and right away they mentioned Mount Hermon, as that's where we have done the diabetes forums before. And so that was the first thing that they mentioned, was coming here to Mount Hermon, and you guys welcomed us.
Well, absolutely. It was something that we were struggling to get back into our calendar, so it was an answer to prayer. And also, it allowed us an opportunity to continue to fulfill our commitment to the community, to be public health advocates and dealing with this chronic disease, diabetes, and staying at the forefront was important. So thank you guys for reaching out and calling us.
And if I could just say, our past events that we've had here have been very successful, and opportunities have come up where we've been able to, maybe an attendee brought a family member or a friend with them. They also, while they were here, they had an opportunity to get their blood sugar tested just because they happened to be accompanying someone else that was attending. And we've been able to, work with some individuals who had high blood sugar levels and help them get connected with resources so that they can catch this much earlier in the process than they may normally have caught it. A lot of times with diabetes, if you wait for symptoms to come on, it's kind of like it's already progressed down the road. We want to do whatever we can to make sure that everyone who needs resources gets connected with individuals who can help them be healthier, do what they can to reverse some of these symptoms, and really, again, it goes back to that empowerment. Empower the individual to know what they can do.
And that is so important, because this forum isn't just about listening to lectures. It's going to be interactive by design, I want to say that, but you also will have an opportunity to get connected to resources and services and get some intervention that can make a difference in your life. And I want to emphasize that this will be a great opportunity to get connected to resources and services. So let's begin our discussion properly. And I'll just start with the most basic of basic questions. What is diabetes? And is it the same as sugar?
Well,
that's what it's called in the community, sugar.
Right. I got a little sugar, a touch of
Yeah.
sugar, or something like that. Yeah.
My sugar a little high.
Right, exactly. And I mean,
Too sweet.
Yeah, right. In essence, yes, it's just another way of saying that you have diabetes. I mean, if you boil it down to kind of the simplest terms, it's the body is not able to process the sugar that we take in from the food that we eat properly. It doesn't get used up for energy as it should be. And there's a lot of reasons behind why that happens. There is a genetic factor. The big one is a lifestyle factor. That's why we're seeing it more and more in younger people. So, we really want to talk about that. But that's really it in a nutshell. And if the sugar cannot properly feed our cells of the body and it stays in the bloodstream, then that's where diabetes complications over time can develop. Problems with your eyes, your kidneys, your nerves, increased risk of heart attacks, strokes, all of those kind of things. So it's really about putting practices into place that are going to help you keep that blood sugar level at a safe level so that your body gets what it needs, not too much, not too little. And that's what we really want to drive home.
Okay, so as the folks would say, answer me this. I remember when I was diagnosed, and my first thought was, okay, I'm going to eliminate sweets, sugar. And I did. But I love rice, I love pasta, I love bread. So I cut the sweets out. But I continued to eat the rice and the pasta and the breads, and my numbers didn't move at all. Please explain that.
Well, there's different types of sugars. Different foods break down to sugar a little bit differently in the body. Again, primarily you have what are called complex carbohydrates, which is what you explained, related to the bread, the pasta, the rice, those types of foods, potatoes, peas, corn. And then
all foods I love.
Most people do. I think we all do. And then you also have simple carbohydrates. Those are the ones that taste sweet. Doesn't matter if it starts out as a piece of bread or a Hershey bar, the end result is still sugar. It does not mean, however, that you're never allowed to eat those foods again and all you get to eat is salad, because how much fun would that be?
Not at all.
So again, it's all about how much of those foods you eat, when you eat them. If you spread them more out through the day, you're less likely to have those real high blood sugar levels. But at the end, more or less, they're the same as far as how they affect your sugar. Of course, whole wheat bread, whole grain, different grains, brown rice, those have a lot of other health benefits over a Hershey bar. But we can't just say because they're beneficial, they don't raise our blood sugar. We have to take them all into consideration.
And we'll have a more detailed conversation, but there will be a dietitian education aspect to this weekend as well, to help understand the differences in foods and how they impact your blood sugar level.
Yes, we will. They're actually going to do a cooking demonstration here on stage. And then out in the forum, we'll have a Tanita scale, which is a scale that tells you how much body fat, how much water. So it kind of gives you a lot of good information. It helps that dietitian that's going to be there will help to guide you into making some healthy choices and understanding where you're at, right? And maybe set some goals.
And you said two things in terms of how you get it. You mentioned genetics, and then you mentioned lifestyle. And I mentioned my lifestyle. When I was diagnosed, I wasn't living very healthy, and I was carrying way too much weight. But one of the things I do remember my doctor saying was that it is likely that I had a genetic predisposition towards diabetes. And I asked, well, what does that mean? He said it was something in my genes that made me predisposed, which begged the question, if there is a genetic predisposition to diabetes, in my case, he said the weight, the bad eating habits, the bad lifestyle triggered the gene. So it was there the whole time, but bad decisions triggered it.
Kind of woke it up a little bit.
Woke it up.
Yeah.
Could either of you speak to the connect between the genetics of being diabetic and also the lifestyle?
Well, yeah, I can start. So, the other thing to keep in mind, maybe we should back up and just say there are different types of diabetes. Primarily, there's type 1 diabetes. That's the type that you typically hear is referred to as, at least used to be, juvenile onset, insulin dependent. Sometimes you would hear that term, although anyone with any type of diabetes can be on insulin. Those are the individuals where there is a strong genetic component. Type 2 diabetes is the type of diabetes that most people in this country have. And while there can be a genetic component, it's all about the lifestyle related to when, like I said, you wake it up. Mm-hmm. Somebody once said, the genetics are the gun and the lifestyle is loading the gun, kind of, so to speak. So it's really about maximizing the genetics you have. It doesn't mean if it runs in your family, you're definitely going to get type 2 diabetes, but it does mean if you're maybe not exercising as much as you should, maybe your diet's not as good as it could be, it could bring that on sooner rather than later. But here's the good side of it also. If you start, as you personally witnessed, start to put these practices into place, guess what happens? Things start to go back some. So it's important to look at that. Type 1, we really think is pretty strong genetic. May have less to do with the lifestyle, but type 2 is definitely lifestyle. Just to mention briefly, there's also gestational diabetes, and that is related to women when they become pregnant, can develop diabetes during pregnancy as well. Sherry, anything you want to add?
Yeah, with the gestational diabetes, it usually goes away after the baby's born. But interestingly enough, a lot of those children that are born to the moms that had type 2 diabetes, we're finding they are also getting diabetes at a younger age.
So is that just that genetic connect there with that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's that, and then if the mom's pregnant with the baby dealing with diabetes and the blood sugars aren't controlled well during pregnancy, it does put more stress on the baby. So again, you're increasing it. So we have programs as well for gestational diabetes moms to help them keep that blood sugar level where it needs to be throughout pregnancy, so the mom has better outcomes as well as the baby.
Yeah, and we've heard briefly in your introductions some of the consequences of not managing your diabetes well. And one of the consequences of managing your diabetes well is that you ward off those consequences. You either delay them or you will live in a way that you never trigger them altogether. And that's why I like to say that this is a very manageable disease. You get diagnosed with diabetes. That's not an outcome. You get to determine your outcome by how you manage the disease, which it makes participating in something like this forum we're having this weekend all the more important to empower you with the information and knowledge that you need. So you guys are already taking care of the next question, which talks about the types of diabetes and the differences between them. So let's segue, and you've already mentioned it, but let's just do it as a part of the question. What are some of the risks of not taking your diabetes seriously?
Well, I think, and I'll have Ro jump in there too, but over time, elevated blood sugars can cause damage to the blood vessels and the nerves throughout your body. So it can affect you from head to toe. So sometimes, you may not be able to remember things as clearly. So it can affect your memory or your cognitive skills, which is where you go to the kitchen to get something and you're like, what am I doing in the kitchen, right? So
you're scaring me now.
Right?
My wife and I were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah, and your ability to concentrate can be affected when your blood sugars are high or low, too high or too low. So from there to your eyes, it can affect your ability to be able to see well and the blood circulation in your eyes, and lead to diabetic blindness in some people, which is pretty scary, but very treatable if it's caught early enough. So that's why we recommend those eye checks at least every year, so they can look at the eye and see how your blood vessels are doing in your eyes. And those that have better blood sugar control are going to have better outcomes. So you come down to your carotid arteries here, where the blood flows up to your brain, right? So those arteries can be damaged from high blood sugars over time and can increase your risk for having a stroke, especially if you have high blood pressure. That can go along with having type 2 diabetes as well. And of course, your heart disease. And people that have diabetes have a greater increased risk for having a heart attack or a stroke or cardiovascular disease, blocking up those blood vessels that are supplying that blood flow to your heart. And that also goes to your kidneys, right? So that affects your kidney and your body's ability to function properly with your kidneys. So that's really important that we monitor the kidneys and make sure that they're healthy. And we can go on to develop dialysis, but it's a long period of time, right, before you go through the stages of developing to that point of dialysis. So we can do something about that. We can stop that process, reverse that process, or prevent that whole events from occurring by improving blood sugar control. Really important, too, is the blood flow. We all hear about those sores on the feet that don't heal. So as the blood flows down to the legs and feet, it may not be flowing down to the legs and feet like it needs to. And so we're going to have somebody at our event that's going to be talking to people about that blood flow to the legs and feet and signs that you can look for, and share that information with you, as well as a foot doctor to take a look at your feet or answer questions about your feet. And so we're going to have a foot doctor here that will help with that. Dr. Paul Wallenmeyer will be here to take a look at your feet and answer questions. So from head to toe, elevated blood sugar can cause damage.
Thank you so very much. Very thorough, very plainly spoken. And we know from people we love who have not managed their diabetes well, who deal with these things sometimes early in their latter years, and sometimes late. And it's sad to see this type of suffering when different decisions could have prevented it. And that's the thing. This is preventative. And we want to encourage people to get empowered. And the things you do now will determine the quality of life you have in your latter years as it pertains to diabetes. And since we're broadcasting this from the church, I want to speak to the community of faith. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, the Lord isn't going to protect you from these outcomes. The Lord is empowering you with this information. And we understand we reap what we sow. So if you sow good seeds of managing your health, you're going to get good results. But if you ignore it and then expect divine intervention, it's not likely going to happen. So let's be sober-minded and take care of ourselves and get better outcomes.
You know, it's a really good point because, you know, even if we think of our doctors, you go to the doctor, you get a medication or medications. If you just do that by itself, that's really most likely not going to get you there. It's the effort that it's right. It's what you do on a daily basis that's going to determine how well you do down the road. And you know, we don't talk about these diabetes complications to scare anybody, but the reality is you want to know what is out there and also equally know that you have a significant role to play and can significantly reduce the risk of these complications.
And the scripture says people perish for a lack of knowledge. So the knowledge is available to not perish from diabetes and to live a full life, the entirety of your life. So yeah, those are some complications. We've talked a little bit about how you can manage and avoid those complications. Let's segue into talking about what tests are available to determine if you have diabetes or not, and the difference between those tests, because I didn't always know. Okay, and I want to start with one that I thought I could cheat, and you can't cheat it, and that is the A1C test to determine if you're diabetic and how well you're doing with that. And so which of you want to talk to that test, what it is, how it works, and why you can't cheat it?
Go ahead, Ro.
So the hemoglobin A1C or A1C is a single blood test that you can take. You don't need to be fasting for it. It can be drawn at any time. And what it's really looking at is it's going to give you roughly a 3-month picture of how your blood sugars have been running, if they've been running pretty much average and where they need to be, too high or too low. So it has very little to do with the donut you had yesterday or the hamburger or any of that, because it's not looking at one point in time. It is looking at a slice of time over roughly 3 months, where some other tests, if you test your blood sugar with a finger stick, or you have a continuous glucose monitor, you're looking at one point in time. The A1C is giving you that picture. That's why it's really valuable to really see, okay, how are things looking overall and not just one point in time.
And that one point in time, and then overall over a 3-month period, and I'll testify. I thought I could outsmart it. I did when I was first learning how to deal with this, and I do what I want to do, and then I know that test is coming in 3-4 weeks. I'm like, okay, let me just kind of straighten up and go in there and take that test, and it would tell the truth.
Numbers don't lie, right?
About how well I was or was not doing. So yes, you can't cheat it. It's going to tell and give an accurate picture of how you have done over a particular time frame. But a related question. Over a 3-month period, on average, if you're doing all the things right, how much can you expect your glucose level to drop?
Sure, you want to take that?
Well, I think the answer to the question is 7% for most people. Means that you're keeping your blood sugars about 154 or lower than that. So at that 7%, that means your average blood sugar over the last 3 months has been around that 154 mark. So we look for people living with diabetes to keep that A1C less than 7%.
So that's the goal.
That's the goal
But
for most people.
In my case, if I recall correctly, when I was initially diagnosed, my first A1C revealed I was 13.
Wow.
It was high,
Very high.
very high, 13.
That's scary high.
Exactly. Well, that's what the doctor said. That's why
Yeah.
it scared me silly too. I didn't drop from a 13 to a 7 in 3 months. So that's why I asked that question. Realistically, how much can you expect if, let's just pick a number, 13, how much can you expect your glucose level to drop if you're doing all the right things in a 3-month period?
It varies from individual to individual. However, just to give you an idea, I mean, I've seen it. If somebody's at 13, maybe the next time they're at 10 and a half or 11, and the next time they're at 9, and then they're at 8. And, you know, you can retest this every 3 months to really see how you're doing. But you should see that, you know, over time, that gradual drop, you know, to get you where you need to be. I mean, there's a lot of factors that are going to affect
Yes.
that. It could be the medication you take. Of course, the biggest, like we've talked about, are you moving and what are you eating? That can all play in that. So you shouldn't have despair if you're at 13, and then the next time you test or the next time they run it, it's 11. You go, I guess I'm just not doing it right. Hang in there. It will continue to get better. And you're an example of that.
Exactly. Celebrate that drop.
Every small move you make, you know?
Absolutely.
Small steps make big changes.
Because it could be discouraging.
Right.
Particularly if you're sacrificing foods you love, right? And then you see an incremental decrease. And I've seen people get discouraged and give up their journey. And I ask that question because celebrate the small successes. And you know, 1.5%, 2% is not small, right? And you'll get to where you need to be over time. And you're developing good habits, and you're more likely to continue those habits as well. So don't get discouraged if your drops aren't drastic.
Yeah, give it some time. You didn't get there overnight.
Right.
Okay.
So it's going to take a little bit of time. And you know, you're going to feel better, you know, as that A1C is coming down, you know, so you're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. You're not going to feel as tired, you know, so you're going to be feeling better too.
Absolutely. All right. Well, great stuff here. Let's move on, because we not only are going to have all of this wonderful stuff. We'll talk about in more detail in a moment here. I'm doing good on time for adults, but something I am very excited about, and Sherry can let you know how excited I am,
Very
because
excited.
I drove this conversation in our planning meetings. I got really excited about this feature, and that is a children's education component that's going to be taking place simultaneously with the adults. So the Children Diabetes Forum is going to be in our children's church area. They have their own program designed for them, their own volunteers. It's very interactive. So parents, come with your children. You can be here, they could be there. Parents who have children who have diabetes, or you might be concerned, may be pre-diabetic. Maybe we're saying some things here that's causing you to look a little closer. Come out and be educated. But we do have this children forum taking place as well, which I want to ask a question about diabetes in children. I did some reading in anticipation of our conversation, and one of the things I read was that diabetes in children nationally is a growing concern. So let's talk about why is that a concern? What is happening with children that we're seeing this growing concern and this increase in children being diagnosed with diabetes?
Well, here's the thing. So in our lifestyle, and the way that we have the lifestyle that a lot of us lead, you know, children are eating a lot more processed foods. There's a lot of games that they play that are now not very active lifestyles. So they're sitting a lot more, and there's TV 24/7. There's video games. All those things contribute to that. And sometimes they use that too as a babysitter. You know, like, you know, they're quiet, they're watching TV, or they're playing their video game, and that seems okay, but our children aren't getting the activity that they need. And what we know is that literally 1 out of 3 children, 1 out of 3 are going to go on to develop type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
With that type of a lifestyle.
That's a third.
1 out of 3.
Wow.
And that's in the research.
Sugar,
so that's a lot of
sweetened
kids,
beverages.
Right?
You
Yes.
know,
Oh my
sugar,
goodness.
sweetened beverages, the sodas, even juices. I mean, anything that has sugar added, that is just one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, the Gatorades,
Yeah.
the chocolate
Gatorades.
milk, the energy drinks that
Yes.
have all those sugars in them. I mean, those are
All the
for kids.
things that parents do to appease children, to make them easier to manage, giving them what they want. All of those things really, in the long term, work against your child's health. is basically what I'm hearing. And of course, this has become a part of our culture, a part of our society. And so that's a third. And I don't have any research before me, but as with most diseases, I would imagine that number is anticipated to be even higher amongst African Americans and Hispanics, just as the numbers are higher proportionally with adults
I would agree.
in those
And
ethnic
as-
groups.
As well as, sometimes we'll also see higher cholesterol and even higher blood pressure with African American and Hispanics, as well as the blood sugar. So we got these kids that, they have these cardiovascular risk factors already in place, and they're not even adults yet.
Yeah, and one of the things I've learned in dealing with this is, I'll call diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol the unholy trinity because they run together. And what I've learned also is that when you're diagnosed with diabetes, they typically treat you for all three. So you get a blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, and your diabetic medication. So that's pretty alarming. We know that obesity, a sedimentary lifestyle, poor dietary habits, which we've talked about, all play a role. What can you say to parents to just be conscious and to maybe make some changes to give their child a better opportunity of not developing diabetes?
It's easy to say just have your, child just cut all that stuff out and have them exercise. But, the world that we live in now, and you mentioned culture, is not supportive of anything we're talking about. And so even just thinking of small things you can do, whether it is maybe if a sugar-sweetened beverage, maybe you don't bring them into the house, but maybe if you're out somewhere, maybe they get a treat occasionally. The idea is to make these, if we're talking specifically about diet, the idea is to make these foods the exception, not the norm. And in our culture, whether it's the commercials that we see, whatever it is, it's almost as though if you don't eat these foods or whatever, you're kind of the odd person out. And that's really a message we want to get to people, is that as we go in this direction, it's not going to get better unless we do something about it. So back to your question about parents, it's just little things you can do to help support your child. Maybe, if it's an issue and you don't want to let them go out by themselves, maybe you go with them and take a walk or go to the park or something, and almost make that your treat. That's your fun thing that you do. Screen time, whether it's a mobile device, it's a TV or whatever, keeps going up and up and up. But getting outside, even if it's 15 minutes to start, whatever you can do to try to reintroduce what we all used to do,
Yes.
is really important.
Yeah, and just having some intentionality about it, which can be challenging because schedules are busy and
100%.
parents are looking for relief in the evening.
Yeah, you get home from work,
Yeah.
you're tired.
Yes.
You don't want to do those things.
Yes.
And sometimes you're so tired, all you want to do is, just sit down, watch TV or something. But if you actually try to maybe push yourself a little bit and go take that walk, a lot of times you feel better for doing it. It helps your mental acuity, everything.
And one of the things we did, my wife and I really have to credit her for being the brainchild behind this, traveling this journey with me and knowing what my struggles have been to stay on top of this. We made the decision that we wouldn't buy sodas for the house. We wouldn't buy snacks for the house. Now, once they started earning allowance and what they did with it, they were free to do. So we didn't say you couldn't have. We were just intentional about not making it convenient. And of course, from time to time, there'll be some complaints. Why don't we have it? Why don't we have? But what we have observed is that as adults, none of our children are big soda drinkers. None of them are big snack eaters. And it's just because we didn't make it easy for them to access.
Your role models.
Yeah.
Your role models. Your kids do watch. They do. You don't maybe not think they're listening, but they're listening and they're watching.
But we couldn't access it either. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's a family
it wasn't.
thing.
It was there. And we all had great discipline, right?
Right.
It's we just didn't have it in the house,
It's a family.
right?
Yep.
But that
established a culture and behavior. And what I also learned is when they started earning their allowance, we found out what they valued because they could have went out and got that stuff,
Right.
but they didn't want to spend their money on it,
There you go.
right? So there's a different evaluation
lesson.
going on
Good lesson.
with
It's a little
that.
more
So
painful
Sure, 'cause
financially to
they'll
get
spend
it.
your money for it, but they won't
Yeah,
spend their money
right.
for it. So we talk about what parents can do. That was just something we did that worked out pretty well. And I think families can have conversations and determine, hey, this is a concern. What can we do as a family to help us all do better? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you for that. Let's segue to Saturday, November the 16th, the World Diabetes Day Forum here on the campus of Mount Hermon Church. So I'm going to start by saying registration time starts at 9 a.m. And we want you here so that you can register. And there is a reason for the registrations. Some things are tied to the registrations. And so, Ms. Sherry, will you talk us through our registration time?
Yes, when you come in for registration at the registration table, you'll get a program, and as you go through the vendors and you get their signatures on that, this is a sign off on that, you'll be entered into the raffles at the end of the program. I think we're doing the raffles around 12:30. Have a few prizes.
So for the adults, you're going to have a passport. You get here, you register. That lets us know that you're here, but you also become eligible for some giveaways at the conclusion of the program.
Yes.
And also registration is tied to the children's portion as well.
Yes, so the children will get a colored band. So we have these different zones that the kids will be interacting with. And so they'll have a colored band, so they're going to be in each group for about 20 minutes, and then we'll rotate them through. But we also have a dental bus that's going to be checking the kids' teeth. So the Family Health Centers has a dental bus that'll be on premises, and we do need a consent form in order for them to be able to participate in the dental bus. So we want to get those forms filled out. We're also going to be doing eye checks. The Lions Club will be here to do some eye vision checks for the kids. And I believe we're going to need a consent form for that too. So we have a few forms that we may have to get you to sign up for the kids, and so they can participate in those activities.
Yes, so she mentioned the bands. The kids' portion is going to be as interactive, if not more so than even the adults. We're looking at putting the kids in small groups, 5 to 10 max, depending on our numbers. And they're going to be rotating to different activities designed to be fun, but also educational. And also, those registrations are going to be needed not only for their bands, which puts them in their group, but also we'll have the forms for the dental exams. So parents, there's an opportunity to get free dental exams, find out where your children are as far as their dental health is concerned, and then also free eye exams. Sometimes when kids are struggling in school, it has nothing to do with their accrement, their IQ. Sometimes they just can't see and don't know they can't see. I remember my first experience, I was an adult, when I realized that I needed glasses. I didn't know I needed glasses. I went to a basketball game. I was in school at Florida State University. I went to a basketball game, went up, sat where I always sat, and on this particular occasion, I couldn't see the floor. I mean, what's going on? And sure, lo and behold, I needed glasses. So this is an opportunity to get those eyes examined as well. So that's registration, what it's for. Talk us through the event. What's going to be happening?
So when our event goes through the registration, our vendors will be here and ready for you to visit their booths all throughout the event. And also, we want to get a good seat because we're going to have our guest speaker come in, Otis Anderson. And what do you know about Otis Anderson?
Well, if anybody who is a football fan in my age group know that O.J. Anderson was one of the premier running backs in the NFL during his career. He started out with the St. Louis Cardinals, ended his career with the New York Giants, and won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants while he was there. And he also is somewhat a local guy. He played his college football at the University of Miami. So he is going to be the keynote speaker. So we want to encourage you to come out and hear OJ as he talks about his journey in managing his diabetes. And then after we hear the speaker, what's going to be taking place?
Well, after the speaker, we will have a forum. We'll have some experts up here to answer some questions for you. So we will have a dietitian. Her name is Erica, so she'll be here to answer some questions about nutrition. We will have Sharon, who works with our chronic disease and chronic pain programs that are absolutely free, 6-week programs that are available to the community. So she'll talk about her programs. And we will have a doctor here that specializes in cardiovascular disease. So Dr. Hernandez will be here, and he'll be talking to us about heart disease and answer questions that you may have for him as well.
Okay, and so this panel has been assembled to ask any question you might have for yourself, for a loved one, and it's open forum. We want to encourage you, give some thought to your questions before you get here, and if you can have them written on a card, that'd be wonderful. You can submit them when you arrive. If not, we'll have some cards available for you. And this is a scenario where there are no quote-unquote dumb questions. Okay, the only dumb question is a question that does not get asked. This is about information. I guarantee you, if you are thinking it, somebody else is as well. So please ask the questions while we have the experts here, and they are going to be sharing with us. And then after we have the panel discussion with our experts, what's going to be taking place next?
Well, I did leave out one of the experts.
Uh-oh, don't do
the
that.
diabetes educator. How could I leave the diabetes educator out? So we'll have questions about nutrition, questions about diabetes, questions about your heart, questions about chronic pain, chronic disease. So, bring those questions because they're here to answer them for you. And then after that event, what's taking place?
We are going to have a cooking demonstration.
Well, before that.
Oh, before that cooking demonstration?
Yeah.
Oh, help me.
I think there's going to be an award of some sort.
Oh, that's where we're going to place that. Okay.
Yeah.
We recently learned just a couple weeks ago, Lee Health is launching what I think is an absolute amazing program where they are honoring organizations that have partnered with them in wellness as it pertains to the community. And so Sherry's giving me this opportunity to share with you and Mount Hermon Church and our faith community and beyond that Mount Hermon Church is the first recipient of that particular award.
And I'm very excited. It's happening at our event.
Yes. We're excited to receive it. And give me the proper name. What's the award?
Well, it's just what you said.
Health and Wellness Partner?
Yes.
Okay.
Health and Wellness Partner.
I totally forgot about that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I want to say on behalf of our congregation and community that it is very rewarding and humbling to receive that type of acknowledgement because we really have worked to make health and wellness a part of our signature in the ministry that we provide to our community. So thank you also very much for that.
And thank you so much for all you do for the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Couldn't do it without wonderful people and also wonderful community who always turn out and partake and benefit from what we're doing. So come, community, and receive this award with us from Lee Health because you helped us achieve this. Couldn't have done it without you, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then we have the cooking demonstration.
All right. So we're going to have Erica and Val, our two dietitians that will be up here and preparing a salad for us. So it's delicious. salad.
It's not your typical tossed salad. That's what
Yes.
you're saying.
It is. So,
Okay.
so you will
There you
find
go.
it very interesting. There'll be some education with that.
Good.
So they'll be up here doing a cooking demonstration, and then we'll serve a sample of that. And when we do our sit-down meal.
Yes, and so that segues into hot meals are served. So don't worry about lunch or running out to get lunch. Come and can sample the healthy, nutritious salad. But we're also serving a full hot meal for you to sit and eat or take with you. So don't worry about lunch. Come, we're going to be serving lunch, and we'll have enough food for everyone. So we'll segue from here to the fellowship hall for the hot meal, and give you also additional time to visit the vendor station so you can get your passports complete, and then we will be doing our giveaways and raffles in the fellowship hall before we depart. So we have a full day. Lee Health team and staff here at Mount Hermon Church have been planning for months. I think we started in earnest in July and have met every month. And this has taken shape beautifully. And I'm so excited about what we're going to be offering. And we just want to encourage you, the community, get your loved ones here. You come out, be a part of this, get this information, benefit from what is taking place. And before we receive questions and then wrap this up, I want to give an opportunity to talk specifically about Lee Health Solutions Services. That's on our program. And so tell us exactly what that means and what those services are.
Sure, thank you for the opportunity. So Lee Health Solutions is a department of Lee Health, and we provide chronic disease management, as we talked about a little bit earlier, as well as prevention. It really just programs to help you live a healthier life. So we are on the inpatient side with diabetes education, and then on the outpatient side, we have diabetes education. Another program, maybe you're not diagnosed with diabetes yet, but you have prediabetes. And so we have a program to address prediabetes. If we can help you intervene sooner, then that means your risk of developing diabetes is significantly reduced. So we want to do that. We also have, as Sherry mentioned, we have free workshops in the community specifically addressing chronic disease and chronic pain. And we also have a team of registered dietitians that will work with you individually on whatever health condition you might have. So maybe it is diabetes, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a chronic kidney disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Maybe you want to lose weight. Whatever the case may be, we have a team that can work with you on that as well. And we offer programs both in person and virtually. So if it's easier for you to access our services virtually, we can do that as well. Is it okay to mention the website?
Sure.
So if you go to leehealth.org/Lee Health Solutions with an S at the end, solutions. Lee Health Solutions, all one word. leehealth.org/Lee Health Solutions. You can see all of the services that we offer. You can contact us, and we'll do whatever we can to help you out.
And I think this is really an opportunity where Lee shows its commitment to public health and the preventative aspect of it, which saves us time and money and our health, and the same for Lee. Saves you time and money. Right. When we are preventative in nature. You use the term pre-diabetes, and that was something we were going to discuss a little bit earlier, because someone might be thinking, I'm not diabetic. Talk about what pre-diabetes is and what you need to be on the lookout to have a concern that you might be pre-diabetic.
So, pre-diabetes may or may not have any symptoms, but how you can tell clinically is if you have your blood sugar tested as part of, you have a lab draw. If your blood sugar level is elevated but not high enough to be considered diabetes, we call that pre-diabetes. So that would be having a fasting blood sugar between 100 and 125. Now, if you have that one time, that doesn't necessarily mean you have pre-diabetes. but if you do, your doctor will probably recheck you again, and it just means you're kind of on your way. Your blood sugars aren't normal, but you're starting on that path. So what we do in the prediabetes program, we help you again be a more engaged individual with your health, primarily focusing on two areas. One area has to do with activity. We talked about activity earlier and the benefits of it. You know, when you're more active, you feel better. Guess what? Your blood sugar levels go down because you're burning up some of that sugar for energy. Your weight may go down, which can reduce that progression to diabetes. So one is activity. The other one is weight loss. And the studies that have been done on this program, which is available nationally, indicate if you have a 5 to 7% weight loss and you can exercise 150 minutes a week, however you break that up is up to you, it significantly reduces your risk of developing diabetes. So again, it's all about those positive lifestyle habits. So we want to get you before it progresses on to diabetes.
So it can be prevented.
Yes.
And the testing gives you that early alert. So a lot of reasons for a lot of people to be present and learn more. So we're going to segue into seeing what questions we have from our audience. And while we are doing that, let me also acknowledge that this Relevant Conversations live stream will be posted on our website, www.mthermanchurch.org. And we will also post it on our social media outlets, official Mount Hermon Church at YouTube and official Mount Hermon Church Facebook. So if you have loved ones who can benefit from this and missed it, you can direct them to go to those locations to view it and benefit from this information. And as important, I just want to encourage you to prioritize being here on Saturday for your health. It will be worth it. It will be worth it. Yes. Okay. All right. So looks like we have a singular question. How many hours should you check your blood sugar after eating a meal?
Okay. You want to take that, Sherry?
Well, generally, we recommend checking the blood sugar 2 hours from the time you start eating your meal. So if you started eating your breakfast at 8 in the morning, set a little timer, and check your blood sugar at 10.
At the start? Because I always did it. I started the timer after I finished the meal.
No, from the start of the meal. So when you put that
And what's
first
the
bite of food
rationale
in your
behind
meal-
that?
Well, I think it's when your body's whole process starts to break down that food, and then
Okay.
it starts to affect your blood sugar. So when you start eating, your body immediately starts to work on that food that you're putting into your stomach.
And we expect that blood sugar, in most cases, to be a little bit higher at that 2 hour mark than it would be fasting. But, you know, we have different ranges that we give you, you know, to indicate that if you start at a target level, you eat an appropriate amount, and then you test it, you really should be staying in those ranges most of the time. And again, that leads to that lower A1C, that decreased risk of complications.
So is it true that it isn't that the glucose goes up because it goes up in everyone when they eat, right? It's whether it goes back into a normal range 2 hours
Within
after
2 hours,
you have the
Correct.
meal.
Right. If you don't have diabetes, then your body can do what it needs to. That blood sugar, just like you said, is going to go up, but it's going to bring it back down in a reasonable amount of time. It's when you don't have that happening, then what you put into your mouth is what's going to dictate how high it goes and how long it stays there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you both so very much for coming on this episode of Relevant Conversation and sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience in helping people learn about and manage their diabetes. So once again, as we sign off, we want to thank you all for joining us, and let me extend an opportunity for any final words of encouragement that either of you would like to give to our audience.
Well, I'd just like to see everyone come out and meet everyone here that has information for you, and bring the kids so that we can get them involved and engaged, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on Saturday.
Thank you. Ro?
Yeah, I would just echo that. I mean, this is a wonderful opportunity to have that FaceTime with different individuals in the diabetes space and really be able to get those questions answered. So if you're kind of on the fence and you're not sure, I promise it'll be worth your time, and we'd love to have you come out.
Absolutely. So thank you so very much for your time. Share this stream with family, friends, and loved ones, as I indicated earlier. And until next time, grace and blessings to you, and we look forward to seeing you this weekend. Thank you.
Hi, family. Mount Hermon Church and Lee Health is partnering once again for the World Diabetes Day Health Forum on Saturday, November the 16th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. here on the campus of Mount Hermon Church. Our featured guest speaker will be none other than former NFL player and two-time Super Bowl champion Otis Anderson, hailing from the University of Miami. The day will include diabetes and nutrition education, a cooking demonstration, hot meals will be served, blood sugar and blood pressure screenings, chance drawings, and a feature we are excited about this year, a children's fun zone where they will receive free vision checks and oral screenings as well as diabetic education. It's never too late to start them young. So make plans to join us for the World Diabetes Day Health Forum at Mount Hermon Church, November 16th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tell your family and your friends and anyone who is diabetic or have a diabetic loved one. This education forum is interactive and it is for you. We look to see you there.